Good evening. My name is Lawrence Neals. I'm with the cast of the West Wing Weekend.
For those of you who joined us tonight, we're eager to bring you this very special presentation.
When the planning for the West Wing Weekend began and ideas were being tossed around, there were a few, more than others, that encouraged great excitement amongst the planners. The Big Block of Cheese Day musical was one. Yay! The Trial of Toby Ziegler was another. And the third is what you're about to see now.
On September 11th in 2001, the world was changed forever. As we all struggled to cope in the wake of the event of that day and the new world that was ushered in, Hollywood writers struggled with how, or even if, to address it going forward.
What follows is a stage adaptation of the season 3 premiere, Isaac and Ishmael, Aaron Sorkin and the West Wing's response to the events of that day.
Hi guys, my name is Natalie. I adapted and directed this small production of Isaac and Ishmael that I'm very proud of. Thank you. So I would just like to say before we begin, this is a story that I care a lot about and a message that I care a lot about. And bless you. While we are at a West Wing convention, and certainly that is why this story exists in the first place, I would like to take a minute to ask you all to, at least as much as you can, strip away what you have seen of the episode a little bit. We're all different actors, different people bringing ourselves into it. It's a different looking cast, and that's okay. The message is the message. And I think it's important to see different people reenacting it. These are all people who wanted to be involved, and these are the people that stepped up to do it. So I think it's important that we all had a voice, and that we may not look exactly like the actors. I am not Janelle Maloney. But that's why we're here. It's just acting, and the message and the collaboration is what matters. So thank you all for coming. I'd like to thank our wonderful hosts, Ben and Jerry, for that introduction and for stepping in because we had 2 sudden dropouts. So thank you guys very much for supporting us. And without further ado, Isaac and Ishmael. From presidential classroom, they got accepted for, I don't know, they get to come to Washington for 4 days and meet with interesting people, and you're one of them.
When did this get on the schedule?
It's been there.
No, it hasn't. It just, there isn't anybody else who can do this.
It's supposed to be you.
I have to work.
You can work in the office.
No, I can't work in the office. We've had 5 crashes, and we've crashed 5 times in the last 3 weeks. When I'm not being evacuated from the building, I'm not being allowed to leave the building. And now the one time, God, Donna, I want to go home.
Josh, it's been on your schedule.
All right, I'll give him a few minutes, but then I gotta go, okay?
Yeah.
When am I supposed to do this?
Now.
Where are they?
They're right in the Northwest lobby.
Oh. Good evening. Good to see you. I'm with a group from presidential something? Classroom.
I'm their supervisor, Marjorie, Mann.
Josh Lyman.
Thank you for taking the time.
So, how'd y'all get here?
Bus.
I meant...
They qualified with essays, recommendations, grades in history and government. It's very competitive.
All right. Well, I'm Josh Lyman. I'm the Deputy White House Chief of Staff. I joined the Bartlet campaign shortly before the Iowa caucus, and then served as the campaign's political director. Before that, I worked with then Senator John Hoynes for a while.
Josh. Code black, crash.
All right, listen, something's about to happen. Don't let it frighten you. They need to seal the building.
Everyone, please stay where you are. Mr. Lyman, are these kids with you?
Yeah, I guess they are.
here. Just grab a seat anywhere. This is the mess. This is where we eat lunch. We'll just wait here.
What's going on?
How should I know?
Well, would you call Leo's office and find out what's going on? And more important, how long it's going to be going on for?
They're probably scared. You might try lightening up a little bit.
Yeah, I'll definitely give that a try. Okay, well, this is called a crash. It means there's been some kind of security breach and no one's allowed in or out of the building. Would you call Leo's office? I guess we should use this time. This is the White House, the home of the president and the executive branch, the most powerful of the three branches of the federal government. Yeah.
Actually, Mr. Lyman, isn't it true that the framers ensured that the executive branch was the weakest branch? Because we were breaking off from the ruralist model. I mean, isn't that why they made sure that the legislative branch, or the people's branch, was the most powerful?
What's your name?
I'm Billy Fernandez.
I'll call you Fred. A little knowledge can be a dangerous thing. I don't know how long we're all going to be here, but you just made my list. Yes, I suppose, technically, constitutionally, the legislative branch is the most powerful, but we get a motorcade, so back off. All right, what do you want to talk about? Guys, seriously, it's nothing to worry about. We've been having these crashes once a week. Let's go. Somebody ask me something.
So, what's the deal with everybody trying to kill you?
Well, it's not everybody, and they're trying to kill you too.
But mostly you.
No, both of us the same. Let's go. It doesn't have to be about politics. You're off to college. I'm the guy who knows what you need to know. Sophomore year, my roommates and I got a fish registered for 18 credits, and she made the dean's list. My roommates and I made a different sort of dean's list, but that doesn't matter.
Did you get scared coming to work at the White House?
No. I mean, we're bystanders, basically. We work around a lot of people who routinely put themselves in harm's way. The Secret Service and the military. They practice 1,000 different scenarios for a gun. Who tackles the president, who opens the car, who's covering the perimeter, and there's one guy whose job it is to stand in front of the bullet. Not get the shooter, stand in front of the bullet. I've seen him do it.
Do you ever think about quitting?
Nah. Well, my mother wants me to. My family members have a habit of dying before you're supposed to. So it's just me and my mom now, and you guys know, I guess, that I was accidentally shot a little bit or something at Roslyn. So she'd like to see me in the private sector, but I tell her my government salary may not be a lot, but I still make more than the guy who stands in front of the bullet, so how do I tell him I'm quitting? So she made me get this box that I'm supposed to keep in the trunk of my car, and it's got a super-powered flashlight and 5 gallons of water, a transistor radio, and some first aid. But she keeps thinking of things to add to it. She'll call and say, "Oh, I found that cap that Dad got Joe Pepitone to sign for you on your birthday. You wore it to school every day in the 7th grade. Would you like me to send it to you so you can put it in the box?" So I'll say, "Yeah, Ma, let's put it in the box." So anyway, I don't know against who, and I don't know what it's going to look like, but one of these days we're going to have a big win. And for a lot of us who've seen what we've seen, we're not leaving until we do. I'm going to be here 6 presidents from now, in my office, Wile E. Coyote and a map.
So, why is everybody trying to kill us?
It's not everybody.
It seems like everybody.
It's just the Arabs.
Saying the Arabs is too general.
It's Islamic.
It's not Arabs, it's not Islamics. They're juniors and seniors.
Yes.
In honor of the SATs you're about to take, answer the following question. Islamic extremist is to Islamic as blank is to Christianity. Islamic extremist is to Islamic as blank is to Christianity.
Christian fundamentalists?
No.
Jehovah's Witnesses?
No. Guys, the Christian right may not be your cup of tea, but they're not blowing stuff up. Islamic extremist is to Islamic as blank is to Christianity. That's what we're talking about. It's the Klan, gone medieval and global. It couldn't have less to do with Islamic men and women of faith, of whom there are millions upon millions. Muslims defend this country in the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, National Guard, police, and fire departments. So let's ask the question again.
Why are Islamic extremists trying to kill us?
That's a reasonable question if ever I heard one.
Because we're Americans?
That's it?
It's our freedom.
No other reasons.
Freedom and democracy.
I'll tell you, right or wrong, and I think they're wrong, it's probably a good idea to acknowledge that they do have specific complaints. I hear them every day, the people we support, troops in Saudi Arabia. It's not just that they don't like Irving Berlin.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
I don't know about Irving Berlin, but your ridiculous search for rational reasons why somebody straps a bomb to their chest is ridiculous.
You just called me ridiculous twice in one sentence.
Hardly a record for me.
And you just made my list.
Nothing happens on the list.
It's a serious list. But she does have a point, albeit college girlish.
Watch now as he's going to put me down and make my point in the exact same sentence.
Hardly a record for me. What's Islamic extremism? It's strict adherence to a particular interpretation of 7th century Islamic law as practiced by the Prophet Muhammad. And when I say strict adherence, I'm not kidding around. There's only one acceptable cheer at a soccer match. Allahu Akbar. God is great. If your guys are getting creamed, then you're on your own. Things are a lot less comic for women who aren't allowed to attend school or have jobs. They're also not allowed to be unaccompanied and sometimes get publicly stoned to death for crimes like not wearing a veil. I don't have to tell you that they don't need to shout at a soccer match because they're never going to go to one. So what bothers them about us? Well, the variety of cheers alone coming from the cheap seats at Giants Stadium when they're playing the Cowboys is enough for a jihad, to say nothing of street corners lined church next to synagogue, next to mosque, newspapers that can print anything they want, women that can do anything they want, including taking a rocket ship to outer space, vote, and play soccer. This is a plural society. That means we accept more than one idea. It offends them. So yes, she does have a point, but that certainly doesn't mean you should listen to her.
So, what do we do now?
What?
What do we do now?
Well, I think for help with that question, we're going to need some people smarter than I am.
Definitely.
Thing is, that's pretty tough to find. But I'm going to go upstairs and see if I can get some of my friends to come down and join us. Listen, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know how long we're going to be here. Are you guys hungry?
Yeah.
Well, Freddie, why don't you grab a couple of people, go to the back of the kitchen, get apples and peanut butter. I've got an entire pieces of legislation through Congress on apples and peanut butter. I'll be back in a little bit.
Kill them all, yeah.
All the Islamic extremists?
No. I mean everyone. You're all bothering me. I want to be left alone. Clearly the only way that's going to be is to be alone. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to let you all go. Except the Yankees and the Knicks. And the Yankees and the Knicks are going to need someone to play, so keep the Red Sox and the Lakers and the Laker girls and the Palm. And we'll need to keep the people who work at the Palm. That's it, though. The Yankees, the Red Sox, the Knicks, the Lakers, the Laker girls, and anyone who works at the Palm. Sports, Laker girls, and a well-prepared steak. That's all I need. Sometimes I like to mix it up with Italian. Oh, and Chinese. All right, you can all stay, but don't bug me. You're on probation. Don't forget, I was this close to banishing you.
This is Toby Ziegler, and actually he's in charge of crafting our message to the public.
And today that message is?
Don't bug me.
That's right.
Nice beer.
My choice, sister. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with a religion whose laws say a man's got to wear a beard, cover his head, or wear a collar. It's when violation of these laws become a crime against the state and not your parents that we're talking about lack of choice. Islamic extremists is to Islamic as KKK is to Christianity. That's That's about right. That's a good religious analogy. What's the political analogy? What's an analogy using governments?
They don't have a government.
They have the Taliban. They have the government of Afghanistan.
The Taliban is not the recognized government of Afghanistan. The Taliban took over the recognized government of Afghanistan. And there's your political analogy.
What do you mean?
When you think of Afghanistan, think of Poland. When you think of the Taliban, think of the Nazis. When you think of the citizens of Afghanistan, think of the Jews in the concentration camps. A friend of my dad's was at the house, was at one of the camps. He used to come over to the house, and he and my dad used to play some pinochle. He said he once saw a guy at the camp kneeling and praying. He said, "What are you doing?" The guy said he was thanking God, and my dad's friend said, "What could you possibly be thanking God for?" He said, "I'm thanking God for not making me like them." Bad people can't be recognized on sight. There's no point in trying.
Actually, we've already covered that.
It's worth covering twice, won't you agree?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
Pinnacle's a card game?
Yeah, changed my mind. Kill them all.
Laker girls?
No, all right.
What was the first act of terrorism?
What was the first act of terrorism?
I could answer, but I think he's asking you, man.
Okay, I know it's not new. I know the 11th century, I'm going to have trouble pronouncing this. In the 11th century, secret followers of Al-Hassan ibn al-Sabah, who were taught to believe in nothing and dare all, carried out these very swift and very treacherous murders of fellow Muslims, and they did it in a state of religious ecstasy.
Ah, temptation. I have named thee, and thy name is woman.
This is Sam Seaborn, Deputy Communications Director. Now, don't be frightened when I tell you that in this room, Sam is the knowledgeable terrorism expert. The good news is that in this government, we have some extremely knowledgeable terrorism experts.
I heard I was needed. I came.
We were talking about am I pronouncing this right? Al-Hassan ibn al-Sabah?
Yeah. By the way, the Arabic name for their secret order has survived until today. Can anybody guess what it was? Their Arabic name? You know.
Assassins?
Assassins. That's right.
Yeah, we don't call on him.
What's going on?
I'm supposed to be at a meeting at the Treasury.
I had a 6 o'clock on the Hill, and now I'm stuck here, talking with well-dressed children who can't vote.
You know a lot about terrorism.
I dabble.
What are you struck by most?
It's 100% failure rate.
Really?
Not only do terrorists always fail at what they're after, they pretty much always succeed in strengthening whatever it is they're against.
What about the IRA?
The Brits are still here, the Protestants are still there, left-wing Red Brigades from the 60s and 70s, from the Barro gang in Germany to the Weathermen in the US, have all tried to take over capitalism. You tell me, how's capitalism doing?
What about nonviolent protest?
What about it?
Well, it worked for Gandhi.
Yeah, it did. Who else did it work for?
The civil rights movement?
That's right.
Yeah, but weren't we terrorists at the Boston Tea Party?
Nobody got hurt at the Boston Tea Party. The only people that got hurt were some fancy boys who didn't have anything to wash down their crumpets with. Never has a war been so courteously declared. It was on parchment with calligraphy, and Your Highness, we beseech you on this day in Philadelphia to bite me, if you please.
Can I go back to what you were saying at the beginning?
Yeah.
About it being 100% ineffective?
Yeah?
They're still doing it anyway.
Yeah.
They're not frustrated by the failure?
No.
Well, what do you call a society that has to just live every day with the idea that the pizza place they're eating in can just blow up without any warning?
It's rare.
No, you walked into quicksand.
You don't talk to CJ about the CIA.
CJ has a bizarre affection for the intelligence community that we just
Bizarre?
don't-
How about right?
Okay.
This song is called "The CIA, Our Maligned Little Brother."
Oh, God.
We need spies, human spies. Spy satellites are great if you're trying to detect whether or not Khrushchev has put missiles into Cuba. But if you want to overhear a conversation over Turkish coffee in Khyber Pass, you need a spy. You guys want to get great jobs after college and serve your country? Study Arabic, Chinese, and Farsi.
Maybe this would be a good time for a chorus of our maligned little brother's civil liberties.
Liberties, schmiberties.
C.J. Cregg, ladies and gentlemen.
You know the way to do this without tapping some phones?
What about illegal searches? What about profiling? Do you know what Benjamin Franklin said?
He said, "Hey, look, I've invented the stove."
He said they that can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety.
What's your name?
Well,
I'm on it.
Well, I don't think we're talking about a little temporary safety, and it's not like we need to look high and low for clear and present danger.
Well, what would you say would be the point of fighting terrorism?
It's to ensure freedom, Pokey. I don't need the brochure.
I think you do, because during times of great crisis and threat, America has used draconian measures before, and I think maybe you've forgotten just how effective they've been. Can you name them?
the blacklist.
I want her to name them.
The blacklist.
Thank you.
Look, I take civil liberties as seriously as anybody, okay? I've been to the dinners, and we haven't even talked about free speech yet, or somebody getting lynched by the patriotism police for voicing a minority opinion. That said, Tobis, we're gonna have to do some stuff. We're gonna have to tap some phones, and we're gonna have to partner with people who are the lesser of evils. I'm sorry, but terrorists don't have armies and navies. They don't have capitals. Some of these guys, we're gonna have to walk up to them and shoot them. We can root out terrorist nests, but some of these guys are not going to be taken by the 105th Armored Tank Division. Some of these guys are going to be taken by a busboy with a silencer. So it's time to give the intelligence agencies the money and the manpower they deserve. We never hear about their successes. Guess what? The Soviets never crossed the Elbe. The North Koreans stayed behind the 38th parallel. During the millennium, not one incident. You think the terrorists thought that'd be a good day to take off? Not much happening that day? End of song. Oh, and by the way, there's nothing more American than coalition building. The first thing John Wayne always did was put together a posse.
That's a hell of an example, CJ.
Shouldn't you be finding ways to provide aid and comfort for our boys in intelligence?
You know, they may need some comforting right now. When this crash is over, you best get in some fishnets and head to a bar.
I will.
Oh, yeah?
Where do terrorists come from?
Where do they come from?
Everywhere, mostly from wherever you'd expect. Places of abject poverty and despair. Horribly impoverished places are an incubator for the worst kind of crime.
Which is the same as it is right here. It's the same as it is here. I live in Southeast DC. If you're not familiar with the area, think Compton or South Central Los Angeles, Detroit, the South Bronx. Dilapidated schools, drugs, guns, and what else?
Gangs?
Gangs. Gangs give you a sense of belonging, and usually an income. But mostly they give you a sense of dignity. Dignity. Men are men, and men will seek pride. Everybody here's got a badge to wear. I'm communications director, deputy communications director. I'm a presidential classroom. I know the answer. I'm going to Cornell. You think bangers are walking around with their heads held down saying, man, I didn't make anything out of my life, I'm in a gang? No, man, they're walking around saying, I'm in a gang, I'm with them.
Good evening, Mr. President.
Hello?
Everyone stand up.
What the hell is going on here?
Sir, these are the students from presidential classrooms.
Oh, please, please. You women seem bright and lovely, and the man disturbingly dense.
Ignore him. God knows the rest of us do.
Weren't you supposed to be coming down here to get me some apples and honey?
We're out of apples and peanut butter, sir.
Oh, so we're stuck here then.
Yes, sir.
Well, I live here.
Yes, sir.
I'm going back to my office. It was very nice meeting you all.
I'm gonna stay here a few minutes.
All right.
Sir,
Yes,
do you consider yourself a man of principle?
I try to be.
Well, don't you consider, I know they're our enemy, but don't you consider there's something noble about being a martyr?
A martyr would rather suffer death at the hands of an oppressor than renounce his beliefs. Killing yourself and innocent people to make the point is sick, twisted, brutal, dumbass murder. And let me leave you with this before I go find the apples that were rightfully mine. We don't need martyrs right now. We need heroes. A hero would die for his country, but he'd rather live for his country. It was really good meeting you all.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir.
How did this all start?
How did what all start?
Well, this.
Sarah. God said to Abraham, "Look toward the heaven and number the stars, and so shall your descendants be." But Abraham's wife Sarah wasn't getting any younger, and God wasn't coming through on his promise. I was very young when I had my kids. I was very, 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 very young. I was barely even born yet when I had my oldest daughter, Elizabeth. Anyway, Sarah was getting older, and she was getting nervous because she didn't have any children. So she sent Abraham to the bed of her maid Hagar, and Abraham and Hagar had Ishmael. And not long after they did, God came through on his promise, as he'd always intended to, and Abraham and Sarah had Isaac. And Sarah said to Abraham, "Cast out this slave woman with her son, for the son of the slave woman will not be heir with my son Isaac." And so it began. The Jews, the sons of Isaac, the Arabs, the sons of Ishmael. But what most people find important to remember is that in the end, the two sons came together to bury their father.
I think most people also find it important to remember that the whole thing took place about 73 million years ago.
Yeah.
Excuse me, ma'am? We're clear.
Oh, well, that's that then. It was good talking with you guys. Hang in there.
Well, all right, that's it then.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah?
Do you favor the death penalty?
No.
But you think we should kill these people?
You don't have the decisions in a war that you do in a jury room. But I wish we didn't have to. I think death is too simple.
What would you do?
I'd put them in a small cell and make them watch home movies of the birthdays and baptisms and weddings of every single person they killed. Over and over, every day, for the rest of their lives. And then they'd get punched in the mouth every night at bedtime. By a different person every night. There'd be a long list of volunteers, but that's okay. We'll wait. But listen, don't worry about all this right now. We got you covered. Worry about school, worry about what you're gonna tell your parents when you break curfew. You're gonna meet guys, you're gonna meet girls. Not so much you, Fred. Learn things. Be good to each other. Read the newspapers, go to movies, go to a party, read a book. In the meantime, remember pluralism. You want to get these people? I mean, you really want to just reach in and kill them where they live? Keep accepting more than one idea. Makes them absolutely crazy. Go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. It was fun. Don't steal anything on your way out. Okay. Billy.
Yeah?
Listen. Nothing. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi.
There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. Think it's time to stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Ladies and gentlemen, Natalie Parks in the cast.
I know my wonderful three friends from GW who came to play the students have to run, but I love you guys. Thank you so much. Next shuttle. Yeah, so.
And when you sit down,
Alrighty. I will sit down. Yeah, and you guys can
We'll just hang out.
stay. Do whatever you want. We're here to, I guess. Yes. I was just using it because of the awesome case. Oh boy. Thank you.
Actually, if you're going to be there.
I'm also going back to my office, so thank you all for coming.
Can I just, Clay is in charge of the entire weekend, so we had him walk on as President Bartlet as a little thing. Whoop. Thank you, Clay. He is the reason we are all here, so it's appropriate. It's metaphorical. Hey guys, so I don't know if you have any questions or anything, but yeah, go for it. So this was put in instead of the season 3 premiere. They whoop.
That was me.
It's all good. They October 3rd. So yeah. Thank you. So that's when it took place. It was a very quick turnaround. Yeah. Sure.
I think the most pressing question, did you have a CJ Cregg wig lying around the house?
I'll never tell.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a different question for this than it was for the first version. Kat was my counselor teacher at camp, at my summer camp, and it was her. They do a one-act festival every session, and it was her idea for me to adapt Isaac and Ishmael because it is essentially a one-act play.
I love it when people do what I tell them.
And me too. And so the first version of this was completely stripped down. So all the Josh and his mom and Rosalind bits were cut out, and Toby's whole first funny monologue was cut out, and basically anything that wasn't directly related to the message, that wasn't Sorkin essentially speechifying through these characters, was whacked out like immediately. So there's also, still a lot of stuff missing that I cut out for this, but the whole Leo plot, for one thing, was at first I struggled with whether or not to keep that, because I think for a lot of us it was weird to see Leo acting like that, but for an audience who doesn't know The West Wing, they wouldn't know any different. It would just be a completely different character. But I think I decided to hack it, one, for time, and two, because it's a little, not on the nose, but with everything else going on in this scene, it creates such a deep environment when you just stay in this one area where it goes throughout the day, and the message is much more up front. You don't really need the subplot when you have this continuous message, which you can do on a stage when you don't need a subplot for TV.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you performed this at the camp? Mm-hmm. So the audience, I imagine, we all know The West Wing. We all know this. What was the reaction of an audience that had no idea?
So, so imagine, if you will, a barn, a sweaty, hot barn in the middle of August,
Most uncomfortable seats
most
ever.
uncomfortable seats ever, crooked. And the actors were ages 13 to 17, or 16 actually, I think was our oldest kid. And the audience was all like, 7 to 17 kids, and then their counselors, many of whom are international people who had not seen The West Wing. So I guess I don't know if I was being pessimistic. I didn't expect it to go over super well, especially because in this one-act festival, generally it's funnier, light pieces, like fluffy things for younger. The one-acts are really for younger kids who don't get huge parts in the shows at this theater camp. And so then it was like, there was one that was like set to David Bowie music, and there was one that was about like, comedies and statues in Greek or something, and then this. And I think a lot of people didn't really know what to think at first, but I ended up, by the time when Sam's bit came around, my wonderful friend Allison was playing Sam. I just want to give her a shout out, even though she's not here. And people were so, and I was sitting in the way back, so I could not see at all how the audience was reacting. But she could.
They were riveted.
Yeah.
I mean, like, riveted. And when he said Israel, the lights went out, and you just heard a low murmur of, oh, Sam.
And my co-director and I were sitting in the back, and the lights went out. I took a video of this, and right when the lights go, he goes, pin drop, because he was British, and he was, and we were so excited, because that's how I knew that it went over well, because honestly, it was my co-director's idea. I was so in West Wing brain, and he had never seen an episode, and that helped so much, because he just stripped away everything, which is what you need when it's going to be a play. The message is the most important thing, and that remains. When you take out all the extra character bits and the context, that's the most important thing. And like Kat said, the writing is so strong and the message is so strong that it doesn't matter if you don't have the character context. Everybody was so invested, and that was just so cool to see.
Katie?
Yeah, I was going to say, because I'm also a counselor at that camp, and I was in the audience with my kids. Afterwards, that was probably the one act that session that everyone was talking about.
Wow. Stop it, you.
In like continued conversation, I was with the 14 and 15-year-olds, and even in the bunk afterwards, there was still conversations happening about little things that were like thematic about the episode.
Yeah, get ready to get gassed up. But I was like, man, if I could just make people sit and watch this, because I think you can watch it without the context of the West Wing. I think you did a brilliant job making it. You don't have to have very much reference to it. That's why I wanted to know what the campers thought, because I was like, I can think of like 15 of my parents' friends that I think
Need to watch this
need to
Yeah.
need to watch this adaptation specifically, not just this episode, because I think honestly, the Leo stuff is intense and good, but as you said, hard to digest if you're not a West Wing fan. So the decision to take it out, I know you said mostly it was for time as well as the context. The context is huge. So good job.
Thanks. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
So, maybe a question for Katie. Our friend Katie that we've been hanging out with this weekend had to leave, but she wanted to hear some discussion that maybe was brought up with the campers around Toby's story that he shared, and that the gentleman praying that he wasn't like those that were, interning in the camp. Was there any discussion about that piece that kids reacted to at all?
Well, a giant majority of the kids at the camp are Jewish, so. A giant majority of the kids at the camp are Jewish, so a lot of them felt uneasy about it, but at the same time connected with it. A lot of it was more on the Islamic, the whole Islamic Christianity thing. Yeah.
Was there anything you were tempted to, pardon the blasphemy, to change? Not to take it out. And the reason I ask is that the one thing about that episode that sticks in my craw is when Josh just kind of waves away. The Christian right might not be your cup of tea, but they don't blow things up. Especially after the 90s, yeah, they do blow things up. Health clinics and LGBTQ.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was thinking, thank you for asking. I was thinking about this in the shower earlier today. I think one of my biggest things about this episode, that's one of them, is not that it's apologetically moderate, but more that it is very partisan in a way, which is not always helpful and not always accurate to what's going on right now. I think in terms of changing things, I mean, there's the one, like, Sam's entrance always bugged me in a weird way, just the temptation and like, it's fine, and it works in the context, and I there's no point in nixing it for that, but
Honestly, I find that line about temptation, thy name is woman, I found it way less icky coming out of her.
Yeah. And thank you. So yeah, no.
And or no,
No.
you.
I didn't have I didn't have a thing. So please.
No, I just want to say sorry. I just on my personal behalf, I did bug our dear director about this. Just on the other end of the spectrum, on the pettiest,
It's
most
okay, it's
nitpicky end of the spectrum, it was bothering me since I had to say it. The fact that the grammatical disagreement in Josh's analogy, it's like, well, no, it should be, if you're comparing Islamic and Christianity are two different forms of word. It should be Islam and Christianity, or Islamic and Christian. You know, it should be.
Which,
and like,
now that you've
the most
said it,
pettiest
it
thing.
bugs me too, but I can't change it because it's
Stop
Sorkin.
ruining things, sir.
But now it's gonna bug me. Yeah, no, so that's why I decided not to, like, he mentioned it, and I was like, no, now that you've said it, I'm gonna make you stick with it. Because it's there, so we're doing it. If Bradley Whitford said it, you have to say it. He has Emmys,
He
so.
just kept threatening to paraphrase it, and I'm like, bro, you are going to be in a room full of people that know the words
Better than you do.
you, and you're holding a book. If
but-
you paraphrase a thing, they gonna know.
They're gonna tempt the wrath from high atop.
Yeah. Thanks. But back to your question, was it? I don't know if I was thinking about the women in this episode, or I was actually like thinking about this morning, and now I cannot remember for the life of me. It's gonna come to me like tonight while I'm eating dinner.
Next time you're in the shower.
Yeah, next time I'm in the shower, I'll be like.
I will say it was nice to see. I saw a lot of people mouthing the dialogue.
I saw it too.
The stage lights are not that bright, and it was very cool to see that the people that knew it kept up with your pacing and your cuts and edits. They were right along with you. Very interesting. I agree with keeping the dialogue. Get over it.
Yeah. That was kind of.
Anything else? Give
Awesome.
another big round of applause to Natalie. What a great job. And to the amazing cast. I said yes and thank you. But to the other guys, lots of heavy dialogue. And in a short amount of time to get it done, and shocking amount of off-bookness. So,
may I just real quick,
Oh,
like,
yeah, go ahead.
I when they through Kat approached me to do this, I knew I had a Josh and a CJ, and I was like, I'm gonna play Donna because I want to be Janelle Maloney. And then I was like, but also there are like 8 other people who I'm gonna need. So I took to Facebook and just asked people if they wanted to be involved, and these people just like commented below, like, hey, I'm down to try this, and like,
I volunteer as tribute.
Yeah, no, you guys were so great, and like,
Skype audition.
I Skyped people to like, and kind of like Ro and like some other people who like said they had no experience, like came out and read the Abigail monologue.
Yeah, bullshit.
Oh my God! Like just, and it was so nice. It was so. Just, and I think watching The West Wing does rub off on you a little bit, but you guys just made me so happy. So thank you for stepping up and doing this, because it could have been a train wreck, and it wasn't. So great job.
With the right food.
Yeah. When it's Sorkin, it's easier to fudge it.
Back there has a hand up.
Yeah. More beer.
And Sammy is Sam, it isn't hot.
Okay, is this just gonna all the way? The most Allison Janney wig. Not a wig.
No, the other thing was a wig.
Yeah. Just a mop.
Big poopy thing.
All right. So, yeah, we're gonna stop bantering. Thank you guys so much for coming, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
One more time, guys.
Thank you.
What's next?
What's next?